Hey everyone, so this is a live presentation from the studio. All the sounds, all the video, the photos, everything you're going to see in here is all edited real time in this moment. And I realize it's not live for you, of course, because you press play on a button, but in terms of the real time creation of it, it is. So welcome to the studio. All right, why don't you come on in, get out of the cold here. And here's my studio space. It's a nice, good-sized space. Get to create all different kinds of projects here. I have the one on the wall here, all these big 4 pictures still in the midst of this one. And this set of pictures is actually created with my shoe. So inside of this little wooden box here, I have a giant ink pad. And I've been using my shoe to actually stamp out these pictures. And all of these pictures, these 4 images, actually create an animation. And I've done many of these before, but the one that that face that just kind of flew by right there, that is happily disgusted. And all of them come together to make this GIF, this way of kind of showing an expression through artwork. And I share all this stuff not just to share the fact that I have a studio, but that's actually the point, is that I do have a studio. I am an artist. But this isn't something that I ever thought would happen, because many years ago I was diagnosed with permanent nerve damage in my drawing hand, and I have a tremor. And it all stemmed from, I loved a certain kind of art, it's called pointillism, just using dots. And I was too focused, and I had a repetitive motion nerve damage. The doctor told me when I was in the doctor's office to embrace the shake. It was kind of this weird advice, not what I wanted to hear, but slowly I found that, okay, I can still make art with this limitation, with this tremor. And then I actually found that was kind of pushing me creatively because I couldn't create the way that I used to. That idea was really interesting because it really showed me that limitations can be this passageway to creativity. And then from there, what I'd wanted to do is maybe I can use limitations to drive creativity. So I was like, well, maybe I can look around and find different ways to force myself to create. And one idea I had was just to walk in the garage and use what I could find. And I found a car battery and some wires. And I was able to use zaps of electricity to make a picture of Nikola Tesla. And then something else I've always wanted to get creative with is money. And I think we all need to get creative with money from time to time. And on one hand, as an artist, it's kind of easy because you can just use a found object, just anything that you find around. And one time I actually found a ton of helicopter seeds. They were collected, and that picture over there is actually made just entirely with helicopter seeds. But that didn't feel quite what I was looking for. I really wanted to get creative with money in a way that I had never experienced before. So the idea that I came up with was maybe there's a way that I could use a lot of money but spend none of it. So I applied for a loan for $10,000 to make art. I was rejected. Then I applied again under the premise of loan consolidation and was approved. Then I used that $10,000 in cash, wrapped it around blocks of wood, and stacked it up to make a picture. And then, of course, the best part was getting to knock it down. Then all of that money was unwrapped and then repackaged up. I took it to the bank and I paid off the loan with the exact same money I took out, not spending a penny of the money from the loan. Well, except for the $11 that this guy stole. That was a little bit of an adventure. So one of the big limitations that obviously we're up against is how can we bridge this gap between people stuck at home and me being able to share my story, my arts in my studio? Well, we can do it through a virtual presentation. And one of the other things that we can do to kind of bridge this gap is find different ways to engage with each other. And the one that I'm going to share right now, it's kind of simple, straightforward, but questions. How can we just touch each other in that sense? And so using Slido.com and entering a code, people can actually send in a question. Like this one, what kind of maple tree were the helicopter seeds from? Good question. I actually know the answer to this one. So the helicopter seeds actually came from the same tree that my girlfriend and I recently collected sap from and made maple syrup, which is its own fun little adventure. It turns out that it was a silver maple because we had to kind of research to figure out how to boil the components down. So connecting with people through questions and other methods that I'll get into another time is one wonderful way to do it. But then also, what I'll be doing is I'll be structuring my presentation where I'll talk for about 10 minutes, and then I'll do a few minutes of Q&A, then talk for another 10 minutes, a few minutes of Q&A, back and forth. And that methodology is really going to help people feel like, we're sharing the same space, that we can connect and touch each other. And also, the other thing I'm going to be doing is leading people through a drawing exercise, a creativity exercise. And before I dig into this, I want to say that, my artwork, I use lots of different materials, lots of different methods of creation. What I found over time is that I use a method of creativity, of coming up with ideas that I call systematic creativity. And this is where you take the thing that's in front of you and you fragment it into bits and pieces. And then you try to get creative with each of those bits and pieces. So what I've done is I've laid out this exercise, and what we do is we take these 6 cartoons up here, and first off, you just try to analyze them. So we come up with subject matter, action, location, these different things, everything that we can see in front of us. After we've done this, now we have the bits and pieces. So we're kind of removed from the arts creation experience. Then we just start to connect these different things and see if it sparks any ideas. And this is actually what computer AI creative technology does, is they do this same kind of methodology. And I love it because it actually removes some of the pressures of creativity. Because you might just say shark in branding. Well, what would that be? I have no idea, but it kind of makes you think a little bit differently. So one idea that I was kind of noodling around was cow and bumper stickers, because stickers on a cow just seemed hilarious. And this is what I came up with. What would Hindus do? WWHD. It made me giggle, which was enough for me to bring it to life. And, of course, making cartoons, this is kind of one fun exercise, but how does this connect? How does this connect to you, sitting somewhere, having your own challenges, your own problems? You're not a cartoonist, and actually I'm not really a cartoonist either at all. But what this does is this gives us this tool, this mechanism to be able to look at that challenges in front of us, to really fragment it, break it into its bits and pieces, and then start to think about each of those components. And what can I do with this? What can I do with this? Maybe then when you talk with other people about one specific slice of this challenge, you can come up with ideas that maybe you wouldn't have 2 weeks ago. Because it's a way of kind of getting creative in a way that it's very kind of free-flowing. It's kind of fun. So this is an exercise that we'll engage everybody with, and another reason that I bring it up is because, all of us right now, we're all in a point of struggle in some way, shape, or form. We don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. We don't know what's going to happen 2 months from now. But what's really important is rather than just kind of to sit back and just wait for this problem to pass, this is actually a real amazing opportunity for us to try to sit down and think about, what disruptive idea can I come up with? What's the innovation that I can find in this crazy, wild, confined space that we're in? And when we do that, when we really sit and try to analyze what's in front of us and recontextualize it over and over and over, we can come up with something that just completely transforms our world. Or, we might find something that's been sitting in front of us for a long time, but find a different way to imagine it. I actually came up with this idea as I was sitting in a parking lot waiting for somebody to come out of a store. The shadows in the evening were long, and I realized, shadows behave differently depending on how far they are from where the shadow falls. And that got me really interested, and I realized I could make art with shadows. So please reach out. I'd love to be in touch, to connect. And, well, until then, I'm going to sit in my chair and socially isolate myself. So have a great day.